Tonight's share is dedicated Lili Nishmas Estebas Yehuda to Neshama Shalev and Aliyah. Tonight's topic is really based off this week's parasha, Parashas Truma, which talks about the whole concept of building a Mishkan. We know that the Beis HaKnesses is Doimel Mishkan. There are many things in common that a Beis HaKnesses, a Beis HaMedrash has to the Mishkan, which really brings to the Shaila that Tzedakah appeals. Is there an Indian in publicizing the donors? Should we say who they are? Should their name be announced? Or is it better that they stay anonymous without mentioning their names? What's the better of the two options? So let's explore through the sugya. We'll start from the Gemaras, the Mishnayos, and take it down literally to Halach and Shulchan Aruch itself. We'll start like this. There's a Gemara in Masechtas Baba Basra. But the Gemara Baba Basra, Kuf Lamed Gimel, says over a fascinating story. There was a person, one of the Amoraim by the name of Yosef, one of the Tanoim by the name of Yosef ben Yaazah. And the Gemara says that this person, Yosef ben Yaazah, had a son. He had a ben. Where the Gemara says, his father, Yosef ben Yaazah, wasn't happy in the way that his son was going. He was a very wealthy man, Yosef ben Yaazah. So he went ahead, Havale Yilasa the Dinri. He had an entire bag of gold coins. He's a very wealthy man. Come Agdashe, he went ahead, he was Magdish the money. Not that his son should be Yerush, and he didn't want his child to inherit him. So he went ahead, he was Magdish all the money that he had. Says the Gemara that the son went ahead. Ozil Nasiv Bas Gedol Kilo Diana Malta. The son went ahead and married the daughter of the person who used to braid the crowns or make jewelry for Yani HaMelech, the king himself. And Alida the Suah. His wife gave birth. This son that Yosef ben Yaazah didn't want to give over the money to, his wife gives birth. So what do? He wanted to buy her a gift. So I guess this is a hot commodity back then in the times of the Gemara. So the Gemara says, Zavala Binza. He bought her a special fish, a chashuva fish. He takes this fish, he rips it open, he's ready to prepare the fish, and inside the fish, he finds Ashkich Ba Margalisa. He finds a beautiful jewel, a beautiful diamond. And the Mefarshim, the Rishonim say, and the Gemara, the Pirush in the Gemara, they say that what was this special jewel, what was the special diamond? It was one of the stones that belonged to the Choshen. So his wife sees what he has, such a precious jewel, it's worth so much money. She says, don't sell the stone to the Ginzei HaMelech. Don't sell it to the Gizbar, to the treasury of the king, because they're not going to pay full price. But rather, instead of that, why don't you go to the Gizbar of the Beis HaMikdash? And when you come to the Gizbar of the Beis HaMikdash, don't give him a price, because once you give him a price, being that it's Tzedakah, Amirasi L'Dvoyek, Misirasi L'Hedit, you have the famous cloud, that even though by a person, in order to a kinyan to take place, a transaction to happen for it to be chal, there has to be a ma'aseh kinyan. When it comes to hegdish, to donate something to the Beis HaMikdash, even Amir, the Gemara says, Amirasi L'Dvoyek, just saying it to hegdish itself, is Kimisirasi L'Hedit, it's like as if you did the kinyan. So she was afraid if you're going to give the price, so you're sealing the deal. So rather ask the Gizbar of the Beis HaMikdash how much she wants to pay for the stone. What happens? He comes to the Gizbar. Amtei Shamua b'Tleisa Ilasa de Dinri. They estimated 13 bags of gold coins, which is an enormous amount of money, a tremendous amount of money, 13 bags of gold coins. What happens? The Gizbar tells them like this: we'll pay you we have 13 bags of gold coins we're going to pay you. 7 we have in stock. We'll give you now. But the last 6, that we have to wait for the inventory, for the donations to come in. But as soon as we get the last 6 bags, that we'll give to you. Sheva Ikka Shis Leka. So he tells them back, you know what, give me the 7, I'll take the 7 now. And the other 6, I'm giving to Tzedakah, I'm being Magdish to the Beis HaMikdash. Concludes the Gemara. The Gemara says, they went ahead, V'kasu, they wrote, Yosef ben Yaazah, his father, was Hechnes Achas. He only gave 1 bag of gold coins for a donation. However, Benoi, his son, went ahead and was Hechnes Sheish. He went ahead and gave 6 bags of gold coins. Now comes the Ritva, and the Ritva says, what does it mean V'kasu they wrote? Where did they write this? So simple pshat is they wrote it to whoever was taking the cheshbonis, the inventory, how much donations were coming in, he wrote it in a book. It says the Ritva, no, V'yesh Armim, others say, Amori Dik Pshat. V'yesh Armim, he says they wanted to publicize the donations. They wanted people to know about it, who did it. People should talk about it. Why? It's something that should be remembered for all generations. That people should know of the good actions that a person did. And therefore they went ahead, maybe they made a plaque, or whatever it was, but they wanted to publicize it. That this person, the son of Yosef ben Yazar, went ahead, he donated 6 bags of coins to the Beis HaMikdash. So right away over here we see from the Ritva, who was one of the premier Rishonim, a Talmud of the Rashba. The Ritva of Talmud of the Rashba says that there's a tremendous inning to go ahead, that when someone donates money, to publicize the person's name. The emes is that there's really a whole entire Sugi Masechtas Yuma. There's a Sugi Masechtas Yuma where it lists, it's Mishnayos. The Mishnah coins the phrase, Baram Zechet Tzadik Levracha. Let's remember these people of Racha. Every time you mention their name, remember them for the good. What did they do? What happened? So it says the Mishnah, it lists, literally, by name and what the donation was. And this is Lanetzach Netzachim, Shas is forever. It's always going to last, it's for eternity, it's Teresh Bapeh. The Mishnayos goes ahead and lists the donations that people gave. Ben Cotton, a fellow by the name of Ben Cotton, he saw that the kiyah only had two spouts where the water used to come out from where the Kohanim washed. And he wanted to have more spouts. So he went ahead and he donated a kiyah with 12 spouts. It says the Mishnah Ben Cotton lost the Shnei Masad Dod the kiyah. Because there were only 2. Not only that, he made a special wheel to keep the kiyah in the water. Mundaz HaMelech, he went ahead, he saw that the kelim on Yom Kippur, many of the yadais, the handles of the kelim, they weren't made out of gold. He donated all the handles of the kelim, they should be gold. Hilni Amalka, she went ahead, she donated Astan of Resha Shel Zav Al Pischa Shel Heichel. But the entranceway she wanted to have, the person should come to the Heichel, they should see a beautiful gold menorah, so she donated the menorah. But it wasn't that she gave it B'tzina, quietly without anybody knowing. She gave it publicly, and not only that, the Mishnah says, it says Beferish, and she was a lady, she was an Isha. There's a whole shal in the Poskim, if let's say a lady donates money to a shul, and she says that she wants to give a donation, but she wants her name on the building. Is there a problem with having a lady's name buying a basic Knesset? So Tzitz Eliezer and Chelki Gimel has a true. He says it's no problem. Why not? Here you see we're publicizing Hilni Amalka. Hilni Amalka, she went ahead. She donated the menorah. She also, the Mishnah says she donated a Tavel Shel Zav. If someone's a soita, so what they would do is they would take the Parshas HaSoita of the Me'amarim, they'd write it on a cloth, and then they would take waters to erase the cloth. They would mix it together, and they would give the soita to drink these waters. If nothing happens, she's innocent. If not, she's guilty. So what happened? Every time the kohen would have to write the Parsha Soita, I don't know if he knew it by heart, you're not supposed to do it by heart, he'd have to take out a Sefer Torah and copy the cloth. So she donated a special plaque, like the Moedim D'Rabbanan, special plaque. Like this, you don't have to keep on going back to the Heichel to take out the Sefer Torah. So it says that also, she gave that. Nikna, the famous doors that Nikna donated. He wanted to go ahead and donate the doors to the Heichel of the Beis HaMikdash. And the Gemara in Yuma expands on the whole story, what happened. He went to Osanu Shal Mitzrayim to purchase the finest materials of nechoshes to make beautiful doors. And on the way back, the Gemara says he's coming back on the Sfina, he's coming back on the boat. He had the 2 doors to the Beis HaMikdash, and there was a terrible storm. And the boat looked like it was going to sink. So the passengers that were on the boat, they said, we have to get rid of these doors because it's weighing down the ship too much. So one of the doors they threw off the boat. When they were going to take the second door, so Nikna said, if you're throwing the second door, then you have to throw me inside also. After he was Moshe Nefesh, the boat stopped. All the waves and everything it calmed down. And when they came to the shores of Akku, they see that there's a tremendous fish that pulled up together with the boat, and he spits out the other door. Unbelievable Ma'aseh. The Gemara says he went ahead, he donated, and the Mishnah lists on all the different things that they did. Ends off the Mishnah of Maskirin Oisei L'Shvach. We always have to remember these people L'Shvach. Their names on it, we have to remember them for the good things that they did. And the Mishnah says there were people, the special family, that they had the recipe how to make the lechem apanim. They were the only mishpacha that knew how to do it. And people asked them, could you give us, what's the recipe? How do you do it? How do you bake the lechem apanim? They didn't want to tell anybody. So the Gemara says that Eilem L'Gnai, it's a chesaron in them. The guitarist, the special family knew how to make the guitarist, they didn't want to publicize it, how they did it. The Gemara says it's L'Gnai. So again we see a Mishnah in Yuma. We have also the Gemara in Baba Basra that clearly say that there's a tremendous Indian that one should publicize a donation that he's giving for tzedakah. Now the question is why? What's the pshat? What's the mila of publicizing it? What's the origin? What's the gadlus? What's the word in this? How do we understand this? What's the nature of this kind of mahalach that it seems the approach that Chazal are taking? There's a very interesting tshuva that the Rashba, of Shlomo ben Avram, one of the premier Rishonim, he lived in the 13th century. He was a Talmud of the Ramban, a Talmud of Rabbi Yoina. He was sent the following shayla. I guess the shul was growing, and there wasn't enough room, so they wanted to go ahead and start putting seats in the entranceway of the shul. And this fellow didn't like it. He didn't want to have it that you have a heichal that's not part of the shul. People are sitting there. So he went ahead and said, you know what, I have a house. His house, his bias is right there. He said he's going to donate the house to the shul, make the house the heichal, and the heichal will turn into the shul. Like this, the shul is so much larger. You have much more area. You place more seats. Okay, everybody's excited that they're expanding the shul. This fellow donates his house, and they're going to extend. After he donates the bias, he says, but 1 second, before we go into construction, there's one thing. I want my name on the building. So they said, when they heard this, they said, no, the name we're not giving you. I don't know why. It doesn't say in the tshuva why not. Why would they care if his name's on the building? But they said, no, the name can't go on the building. So they sent the Rashba to Shiloh. Hey, admits they want to start construction. The person donates his house. His home's sitting there. They want to make the shul bigger. And there's a debate amongst them, Mispal in the shul. This fellow said, I want the name on the building. And the other people in the shul said, no, you can't put your name. So they sent the Rashba, does the Mitzvah, the Mispal on the right, that he shouldn't be able to go ahead and put his name on the building. Listen to a Murray Tshuva. Writes the Rashba, in Chelik Aleph Sim Tovkuf Pei Aleph, Tshuva, Eini Royo Shiyichlu Atzibel Akav Ben Adin, V'loi Min Aroy Mekamet Stodem. He says, you know who's right? The fellow who donated the bias, the fellow who gave the donation to the shul, he's right. And the tzibur has no right to go ahead and stop him from putting his name. He says, you know why? Listen to this Rashba, an amazing Rashba. He says, look around, in so many different places. Kama Kehilas HaKodesh, we find, Shenoigin Kain Gam B'Kaimenu, and where I live also, in Barcelona or in Spain, who kassid b'kaisel ha'heichel. You walk into the entranceway of all the shuls, there's a name that's there. And he says, why? V'zu midas chachamim, it's the midah, it's the ways of the wise. It's midas v'sikin, k'dei litein schar lo'osei mitzvah. There's an inyan to go ahead and to give schar, even though we know that the person is not supposed to do a mitzvah for schar. But for some reason, which we're going to explain, which the Rashba will explain, there's an inyan to go ahead and give schar lo'osei mitzvah. Where do you get this from? He says like this. We find this same need in the Torah itself, that when someone did a mitzvah, the Torah publicized it. And he says, I'll cite a few examples. Yosef's in the bar. His brothers want to kill him. Says the pasuk, Ruvain ve'yishma, Ruvain hears what's going on. Ve'yatzilei miyadam. Ruvain goes ahead, and he has in mind that even though he seems like he's with his brothers, but ve'yatzilei miyadam, he really wants to go ahead and save his brother. Comes the Medrash, and the Medrash says that if Ruvain would have known that the Torah was going to write that Ruvain wanted to save Yosef, ilu ha'yodea. That Ruvain was coming to save him. He says that he would have went ahead, he would have done it so much more, so much greater, he would have made such more of a way to get him out, he would have tried different paths. We find also V'chein B'bayas. It says that when Rus came to Bayas, she wanted to eat, she had nothing to eat. So he gave her a little bit of bread with some vinegar, some roasted grains. V'chein Kama Gedoyla Maisei Tzedakah V'asis HaMitzvah Shekosva Navim B'Sefer HaNavuah, how they publicized the great mitzvah of Tzedakah. V'chein Pirsimu Av Zal Midazu B'Medrash Rus. It says like this, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Maryoin ba'akasav l'lamdecha. She'im ya'adam oisei mitzvah, if a person is doing a mitzvah, ya'asenu b'leiv shalom, you should do it with a full heart. Why? She'ilu ha'yedei Ruvain. If Ruvain only would have known, Sha'kadosh Baruch Hu machted, that the Rebbeinu Shalom, he's creating Torah. What he's doing is creating Torah itself. It's a reality. It's something that's so real. It's not time he's doing a mitzvah. But what he's doing is creating Torah that a person has to make birchas HaTorah before he reads the pasuk. What would have happened? Sha'kadosh Baruch Hu machtiv v'yishma Ruvain v'yitzilei miyadav b'kasifa v'licha elav. He would have took him, he would have put him on his shoulders and brought him back to his father. The same thing by Aaron HaKohen v'rav v'samach v'liba. When he hears Moshe Rabbeinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, take Klal Yisrael out of Mitzrayim, Moshe Rabbeinu says, how can I do it? My brother Aaron, he's going to have Akbada. It's not covered. He's my older brother. Let him do it. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no, don't worry. He's happy for you. Says the Medrash, if Aaron HaKohen would have known that with that emotion, with that heritage, he's creating Torah, he would have greeted you with the greatest fanfare. And the Medrash continues, he says, you should know. When a person used to do a mitzvah, the Navi used to write it down. But Achshav today, where we don't have Nevi'im, when a person does a mitzvah, who writes the mitzvah? Eliyahu Navi writes the mitzvah. VaKadosh Baruch Hu v'Melech HaMashiach, they sign it. They sign it itself when a person does a mitzvah. And the Rashi brings the raya from the Gemara in Yeshleichem. He brings the raya from the Gemara in Yeshleichem that we read from Yosef ben Yehoshua that they publicized when they gave tzedakah to the Beis Hamikdash. And therefore he writes, Mikan atalomat, from here you learn. Shayunogin lichtov kein shemois hamagdishim l'shamayim. They used to write down and they would publicize those who would give gifts. Liyos lahem l'zikarin tov al mitzvahs. One is that they should be remembered for the good deeds that they did, for the mitzvahs that they did. And another svar he says, which is very crucial, is v'liftoyach deles la'isei mitzvah. To open the doorway and give an incentive for other people to follow in his path. So the Rashi gives two reasons. One is that you want to publicize la'isei mitzvah. It's an Indian that someone does something good, you want to publicize it. And the second reason is to give an entrance away, to give a Pesach that people could jump in a sense, it's an incentive people would want to join. Ad kan divrei Rashba. So meanwhile we have the Chuvas of Rashba, we have the Gemara in Yuma, the Mishnayos in Yuma, and we have the Gemara Ba'al that speak about this idea of publicizing the Farsimei Oisei Mitzvah. If you look in Shulchan Aruch, in Reish Mem Tes, the Ramah writes, the Ramah takes this Rashba, he passes Zalachon L'maisa. The Ramah writes like this, he says in Sif Yud Gimel, Mishamagdish Dovlet Tzedakah, Mutter sheyichtov shmoy olav sheyehela l'zikaron. It's permitted to write his name, like this will be remembrance. And he quotes the Rashba, v'roy lasis kain. It's befitting to do it. It's the right thing to do it. It seems like it's not a time for humility. It's not a time for anivis. V'roy lasis kain. You should know it has halachic implications also. There's a tremendous nafkamina. The nafkamina is based on a Murdik Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi says, just parenthetically, we just read in this last week's parasha, there's a Hafadik Maisa from the Rabbi Shalom Goyim. The Rabbi Shalom Goyim was such an Eloi. He lived in our century. But there's a story about, there's a woman who was nursing a child, and for some reason when it would come Shabbos or Yontif, the child wouldn't eat from her. Sukkot is coming up, you have an 8-day Yontif. What's she going to do? It's not like they had formulas like we have today. And she was very troubled how she can be able to go ahead and nurse the child. So she comes to the Rabbi Shabbat for an eitzah. I guess maybe she went to the doctor. She didn't go to the doctor. She went to the Rabbi Shabbat. What should she do? The child's not eating. It's not nursing from her. What is she going to do Shabbos and Yontif? So the Rabbi Shabbat asked her, did you ask anybody else? Or I'm the first person you came to? So she says, yes. She went to Rabbi Simcha, the great Dar Sameach. The Rabbi Shabbat says, what did Dar Sameach tell you? So he says, Dar Sameach, he didn't tell me anything. He didn't give me an answer. So the Rabbi Shabbat asked, he told me Dar Sameach didn't know the Yerushalmi? He didn't know the Yerushalmi? Rabbi Simcha? He said, he didn't know the Yerushalmi. How am I supposed to know the Yerushalmi? He says, let me tell you Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi says, we just read in Parshas Mishpatim, there's a difference between a tam and a mu'ud. The first 3 times a shor gores, it only pays chatzi nezek, it only pays half the damage. After it goes 3 times, the din is, it pays nezek shalom, it pays full price. Writes to Yerushalmi that it's possible that a shor could be a mu'ud for Shabbos, that if it goes on Shabbos, it'll pay full price. But if it goes during the week, it only pays chatzi nezek, it only pays half price. Ask Yerushalmi, how's that possible? If the shor is a mu'ud, the shor is a mu'ud. What's the difference between Shabbos and during the week? The shor doesn't know the difference between Shabbos and during the week. Says the Yerushalmi, Murdik Pshat. Listen to this Yerushalmi. Zok the Yerushalmi Hafel Lefal. He says that on Shabbos, everybody dresses up, they're in colorful garments. And since the garments change and it's more colorful, so the shor in a sense, he loses comfortability. He sees something's going on, it gets him enticed, it gets him a little bit wild, and that's what causes him to gore. Therefore, says the Yerushalmi, that's why on Shabbos can be a mood, because it sees a different clothing, the colorful begodim. During the week, it's regular clothing, it's basic clothing. So during the week, it's Chatzi Nezek. Shabbos, everybody gets dressed up, the shirt starts to go crazy. It's a mood that pays Nezek Shalom. Says the Rabbi Shabbat, that's your solution. Says your child has basic intellect. It goes with its natural instinct. When it comes Shabbos, it sees that you change your begodim. And being that it sees you change your begodim, it loses its comfortability. It sees something's changing, it's not able to nurse. Only during the week it's able to nurse. So when it comes Shabbos, wear the same clothes as you wear during the week. You'll see you'll be able to nurse the child. The Kachal. Unbelievable. The Goyim of yesteryear. Rabbi Yosef Rosen, the Rabbi Shabbat Goyim. Let's get back to Anzir Yisham. Let's get back to Ari Yisham. There's a tremendous nafkamina which the Shulchan Aruch brings down. The Shulchan Aruch paskins like Yisham, and he gives a case like this. A very interesting halacha. It comes up a lot of times. The Shaila is rather obviously very negated to Shaila. But he brings down like the following. Yisrael shenis nadiv ner minor l'beis haknesses. Let's say a yid donates a menorah, or he donates something to the shul. Says the Shulchan Aruch, in the shtakeh shein balo shein nikras al shemoy. If the name of the donor is forgotten, nobody remembers who gave the menorah, who gave the paroiches, who gave the yarin. It's forgotten. Let's take something that's not the Shmisha Kedusha. Let's say, whatever it is, plaques in a shul, a menorah in a shul, ner tamid. So if it's forgotten, the din is, they're allowed to go ahead and sell this item, even if they're selling it for Dvar Rishus. Somebody wants to buy it. Because again, that's Shmisha Mitzvah, not the Shmisha Kedusha. We'll leave out the yarin. Even if the person who gave the money is Moicha, still doesn't make a difference. But if the name is not forgotten, and people know who the donor is, so then already the Mechaber says you can only go ahead and sell it for a Dvar Mitzvah, but not for a Dvar Rishus. Concludes the Ramah. And the Ramah says, V'kol zman sheshein balo chokok al hakelim. If the donor's name is engraved into the item which he gave, that's considered that it's loinish takei Hashem balo mimenu. That's considered that the name is not forgotten, even if the person is no longer alive. But if the name is engraved on the thing which he gave, it's called loinish takei Hashem balo. It's considered that the name is not forgotten. So you see that there's really a halachic nafkaminas, which is very negaya why one would want to publicize the name. The Taz in Shulchan Aruch, on this halacha, that the Shulchan Aruch says that royal ashes came, it's befitting to go ahead and publicizing the name of the donor. The Taz says, you know why? Because if he puts his name on the item, they won't be able to sell it for a Dvar Rishus. They're only able to sell it for a Dvar Mitzvah. So being that it's beneficial for the donor, that in a way it will last so much longer. It will always be his unless they have a Dvar Mitzvah to sell it for, says the Taz, that's why it's kedai to put the name on it. Comes in a Kudus HaKesef to Shach, and the Shach says, why is the Taz trying to make up new svaras? What was wrong with the Rashba svara himself? The Rashba already gave us a svara. The Rashba said that the reason why we want to do it is because there's an Indian of being mefarsim l'chidam bada tami liboy. The shtamate tshuvas Rashba. Why are you saying new reasons? The Rashba said that the reason is because there's an Indian being mefarsim Eisei Mitzvah. We want to publicize Eisei Mitzvah. We want to open up the delis. We want to open up the doorway for others to give. And therefore the Shach says you don't even need the reason of the Taz. The mere fact alone that the person's name is being publicized, it's worth it while for him, it's kedai for him, and it'll be b'chai of others also. It's an incentive for other people as well. But what's the kasha with all this? The tremendous kasha with all this is that the Rabbi Malkiel and all the Mefarshim ask from the Gemara Masechta Sukkah. The Gemara Masechta Sukkah on Daf Mem Tes. The Gemara says, listen to a Gemara. It's a famous Gemara. The Gemara says, Tanu. We learned in a Brisa. Rav Anan Maidik Siv, what's the meaning of the pasuk that says, Chamuke Yerechayach Lama Nimshul Divei Torah Ki Yerech. Why is Torah considered? Why do we compare it to the thigh? Says the Gemara, you know why? My Yerech B'Seisa, just like the thigh is always covered. So to also, Torah should be covered. The person shouldn't, in a sense, publicize it, learning on the hilltops. There's an Ein of Batznei Alachsam Hashem Alekecha. Ma'yerach b'seisa avdivei Torah b'seisa v'hainu d'omer b'loza. This is the meaning of Rabbi Loza that says Pshat. Ma'dik Siv, what's the meaning of the pasuk? Higid l'cha adam ma'toiv ma'ashem dorish mimcha. What does the Rebbeinu Shalom want from a yid? Ki emaso is mishpat v'yavas chesed v'atznei aleches Hashem leikecha. Person should go b'atznei aleches. He should go with modesty. He should go b'anivis. he should try to be, off the radar. And the Gemara makes a kavachomer. What's that snei lechsem Hashem lekecha? What are we talking about? Says the Gemara, we're talking about hitzos hameis and achnasas kala. Hitzos hameis and achnasas kala, one shouldn't be magazin by hitzos hameis if, let's say, they have to collect funds for a funeral, for levaya. So it's something that's usually done in public. That people are raising funds for a wedding, people are raising funds for a levaya. So even though it's done publicly, they shouldn't announce the name of the donors, how much each person gave. Says the Gemara, kavachomer, madach achnasas kala by hitzos hameis. When you're raising money for it, it's done publicly. There's an Indian of that's ne'aleches. So when someone gives money to an ani, the seisiv, sure his name shouldn't be published. And what's so ironic is that the Ramah passes like this Gemara. The Ramah Shulchan Aruch says in Reish Mem Tes, Zok the Ramah, Hagah, V'al kol panim lo yispar adam b'tzedakah. A person should not glorify himself b'tzedakah shenoisen. V'mispar, if he becomes glorified through the fact that he gave tzedakah, lo yidai she'enim makabel schar. Not only isn't he makabel schar, this pasuk is an einish on it, says the Ramah. And then he ends off in the same breath. He says, Mikol makom, mishamagdish davar beis hakneses, it's mutter to write his name, v'roi lasis came. So come all the achronim, this l'chor is gewaltige stira. What's going on over here? On one hand, he told me about snei lechsem Hashem lekecha. And mitzad sheni, in the same line, he told me the Tshuvas HaRashba. What about the Gemara Bal? What about the Sigis and Yuma? What's the pshat? The teretz is, there are many teretzim, but I just want to say about this teretz because it's the most mistabel. It's the most mistabel, it makes the most sense, and it's mamash aglat t'svar. And then we'll get to halacha l'maisa. This tshuva was written by the Tshuvas HaNagis, that's the Moedim Mizmanu, Moshe Sternbuch. He's living now in Eretz Yisrael, tremendous God, tremendous goyim. He brings down this kasha, goes through the whole thing, and we spoke about the steer in the Ramah. He says there's a tremendous difference. Or if he's giving it to ani. If a person is going ahead and he's giving the money to an ani, he's giving it to a poor person. So then over there, what's the purpose in publicizing the person's name? If anything, it makes the ani that's receiving the money just more uncomfortable. If someone just happens, like the greatest that Madreg is that someone gives him the money without him knowing about it. But here he can start publicizing, making an appeal for an ani, and his name is being mentioned, and the donor has become such a matzah, everybody's talking about it. That already, that's degrading the ani. It's what happened to the covenant of the ani. However, he says, person wants to give money to a basic knesses. Oily yeshiva kadom, he's giving money to a yeshiva or something like that. Then that's the Tshuvas HaRashba. When it's going to the Beis HaKnesses, it's going to an organization, then we say, publicize the Nesina. And he says, not only that, he says not only that is a good, but there's something else that's so beneficial. It's also good for the children, because after 120 years, they're going to see a plaque, they're going to see a name on the building, and they're going to see that it's their father's. What's the first reaction? Right to the last They're going to say if their father, their grandfather, the Zayda, was such about tzedakah, you want to follow in his ways. And he says even more than that. There was Hanenu Nira Sharoi Lefarsim Moisei Mitzvah Shiasa Kamoyu Havada Kol Hilchach HaKavana L'Maisa Moedim Mizmanim goes like the Rashba, and that's how we pass on halacha l'maisa. That it depends on the tzedakah. If it's a Beis HaKnesses, let's say a shul appeal, or a yeshiva, or a moisid, Fakert Mefarsim Moisei Mitzvah, it's mechazik of his. We publicize it. It's an Indian, like we find all the donations to the Beis HaMikdash, and that's how we find today. Many yeshivas has a name on the building. Why is that? Tshuvas HaRashba, the Ramah, Reish Mem Tes. When it comes to Aniyim, that's already a little bit of a different story, because over there, the more public it becomes, the more names that are called out, then already Mitzad Diyani is something else. Could somebody accept a donation from someone who's a Machal Shabbos? Or what about from a Goy? From a non-Jew? Can we get this on tape? Or? What about from a non-Jew? All right, we'll talk after. But could somebody accept a donation from a non-Jew? I remember when, during the primary elections, Rabbi Isaac showed me that there's in Eretz Yisrael, I forgot the name of the yeshiva, but there's a certain yeshiva, I believe it's the Mamish in the heart of Yerushalayim. We were talking about the Mamish ultra orthodox, like the real right-wing yeshiva. He showed me there was a picture of a plaque of two people that donated money to the yeshiva. One was somebody from the west side, I forgot his name. And underneath it was Dalet Vav Nun, Aleph Lamed Dalet, Donald Trump, Tes Reish Aleph Mem Pei. Donald Trump, a true story. So what's Taka Din? Is a Moishe allowed to accept money? Could they accept tzedakah from a guy? And what about if the guy says, I'll donate money, but I want my name on the building? What about someone who's a Machal Shabbos? Or someone who's a Mumma? Could he take money from Machal Shabbos? So, like everything else, it's a machlokes. But we're not going to have time to do it so much in depth, so I just want to touch upon it. I'll give you halacha l'maisa, but I just want to cite more the precise shittas, the ones that we go through halacha l'maisa. It's a share in it of itself. You go through all the tshuvas for them. I just want to get to the bottom line. We only have 4 minutes left, so let's go over mechaba. We'll lead one to the next. The Ramah says like this: Mumma shenoisin shava anyel beis hakneses. If you have someone who's a machal Shabbos that goes ahead and donates a ner, a candelabra, or he wants to donate wax to the beis hakneses, says the Ramah, this is from a machal Shabbos, not from a goy. The Ramah says it's asel adlika, you can't take the donation. And the Mishnah Berurah writes, why not? He says the dami l'korban. The same way if someone's a mummal avodah zarah, you can't take his korban, so too also you can't take his donation to the shul. V'u'adin, also a person that's a mummal chal Shabbos b'fahesim. Person b'chal Shabbos b'fahesim is the same thing, or even if he's a mummal hachas b'davar echad, he commits one avera to go against the Rebbeinu Shalom. But concludes the Mishnah Berurah. This is very important. He says, Miyu. If he gives money and the shul goes ahead and uses the money to purchase what they want to purchase, that's already mutter. It's very interesting. In the Ramah that says he can't take a donation from Machal Shabbos, that's only when he's giving a specific item. He's giving a ner, he's giving a sefer Torah, he's giving a chveis, a ner tamid, the ner tamid itself. That already he can't take. But if he's giving money to the shul, $20,000 donation to the shul, and the shul does with the money what they want, then already says Mishnah Berurah it's mutter. Now the mabit is chaylik. The mabit is chaylik. Mabit holds you're allowed to take a donation from a mumul chal Shabbos, and the same passage is the shach and the Magen Avraham. But here's the machlokes. But money all agrees mutter. Today we're matter it because of another reason. Today you could say they're all tinnik shenishbas, and being they're all tinnik shenishbas, they're not lahachas. They're pashin. It's not their fault. They're brought up. They were never mechudach. It's not that they were from and went off. So therefore, since they're a tinnik shenishba, today the first of all, it's money is much for sure. And even if they give a specific thing, you have the mabit, you have the shach, you have the Magen Avraham, with a sniff that today they're all tinnik shenishbas. So therefore it's mutter. Now, what about a goy? What about an akum? The Ber Hativ in this siman, he says like this: that even though the Ramah says he can't take a ner from a mum machal Shabbos because he can't take his korban, writes the Ber Hativ, aval akum. Mekabel. From a guy, you could be mekabel, even an item itself. A guy wants to give a paroiches. Not money for the paroiches, even a mummy you could. But he wants to give a paroiches, he wants to give a ner tamid, he wants to give a menorah. The Ber Hativ says from a guy, I will me'akum mekabel. Why? Because from a guy you're allowed to accept karbanos. So since the guy you're allowed to accept aviv,